So welcome to our weekly group coaching session. I am Ashley Lorraine, and today we are going to talk about ways to acquire properties without money or credit. So I'm doing this specifically for someone in the group who asked me to talk about it. They never get a chance to come on during the day because obviously most people have 9 to 5. So I said, of course, don't worry, this will be replayed. I'll put it in the portal, but I do think this is a really important topic for everyone. In Houston, I did have a face-to-face meetup today for just other investors. And one investor, she's actually right here. This is Shireen.
So I gotta say this is Shireen Jane here with Ashley Lorraine.
Oh, I love that. That might be our thing. Shireen Jane with Ashley Lorraine. But I love Shireen. So she just drove all the way down here from Nacogdoches, Texas. And I love the story she shared. So, and I'll let her hop in, but I know she already told me, look, girl, I am a doer, not a talker. Okay. I'm the person that you talk to if you want it done, not necessarily the person to talk to if you want me to talk about it and explain it. So I'll talk a little bit about her. And then if she feels compelled to jump in, I hope she does. But this really goes into today's topic, not using your own money in real estate. So long story short, Shireen worked with me about, was it a year ago, 2 years ago?
It was a year and a half, 2 years ago.
About a year and a half ago, and I was doing the training on Section 8. And it's interesting because we never got a chance to really talk like I typically like to, because she had her grandbaby at the time. My kids were home, and we were like, we're not going to be able to have an adult conversation after the training. So the training was about an hour and a half, 2 hours, and it was just walking through the Section 8 process, why you should do it, benefits of it, and just sharing exactly what I do. And Shireen took that. And at the time she owned, sorry, at that time, Shireen owned a mobile home that she was investing in. And a year later, she has bought 20 units just by using my training on how to get properties Section 8 ready and flowing. So she's done it 20 times in 1 year just from a training. So I say that to say, you don't just jump in. Shireen took my class, she jumped in, applied
Like a dog
it.
with a bone. I picked three things from that class. I just picked because like if you try to pick too many, you don't get enough. So I learned from Ashley. One, you pick houses that are under $100,000. You find those. Number two, you help me, Ashley.
I think you said you want to definitely put a Section 8 tenant in there that pays 100%.
Oh, 100%. And it's okay to fail your inspection because then you know what you need to do. And I took those three things and I just went out and within about a month or two, I bought my first Section 8 house and rented it to someone who was 100%, has a 100% voucher. And she's still there today. Yeah. I guess she's been there. Actually, she has been 2 years because she's been there 2 years. This is her second year.
So, and if you want to jump in, of course, do, but I think people think what you did was impossible to go from one mobile home, you learned about Section 8, and then you just did it 20 times. I mean, because it's rinse and repeat. But, if you care to jump in and share more, I would love for you to. I think a lot of people, it's just confidence, right? Like they're overthinking it, and it's really not that hard. And I want you to talk about, how you started using other people's money once you did it a few times. But again, I already know you're a doer. So if you want to jump in, interrupt. If you don't feel comfortable,
I'll jump in.
No worries.
I will.
Okay, so we're going to go ahead and get started with today's meeting. Welcome. Today, we're going to be talking about 7 ways to invest in real estate without any cash or without any credit. If you don't know my story, when I first started investing in real estate, I was a school principal. We don't make a whole lot of money. I had 3 children. My credit was whatever the lowest is. That's what mine was. And I had no money to invest. So I bought my first 2 properties creatively. I did something called Subject to, and then the other one I also bought with owner financing. So I'm going to walk you through those, but I want to talk to you just generally about all the ways you can do this. So I'm going to share my screen. And if you're having problems hearing me, please let me know. We have a speaker going on here in the coffee shop we're in. All right, so. All right, so in today's coaching session, we're going to talk about all of the ways, I'm going to turn so you guys can hear me and see me a little bit better, all the ways that you can invest in real estate without using your own money. And hopefully Shireen will be jumping in to talk about using other people's money in the way that she's done it for the 20 units that she has. So we'll talk about wholesaling real estate, which we have Jen and Rio as a part of our community. They're actually on the call now. So if you have any questions about wholesaling real estate after this, reach out to them. If you do not have their contact information, I can share it with everyone via email, but they are wholesaling nationally. So I think that's who you want to talk to. We're also going to talk about number 2, Airbnb arbitrage. So this is where you're going to partner with homeowners to turn their house into an Airbnb. So you don't need to buy the house or anything like that. The third strategy is a zombie house or adverse ownership. Just very quickly, a zombie house is like those vacant houses that you see and you're like, that house has been in that neighborhood for years. No one ever lives there. So we'll talk about how some people are taking those over as their own and cash flowing them. Obviously, we're going to talk about number 4, subject to, because that is my area of expertise. I love it and live for it. Number 5, we'll talk about owner financing, and we'll also talk about owner finance wraps. In the course that comes with coaching, you already have a deep dive on subject to, you have a deep dive on owner financing and a deep dive on wraps. So if you haven't checked that out already in the course, or maybe that module hasn't opened for you yet, once you get to that point, definitely look it over and then let me know if you have specific questions. Number 6, we'll talk about hotel. Number 7, we'll talk about partnering to refinance. But this is not all inclusive. There are so many other ways. I mean, lease options, which is also in the course for you guys. So many ways, other people's money, but we'll get into that shortly. Excuse this presentation. I use this for like a very large audience, so it's probably going to have some salesy stuff in there, but you're obviously already in my coaching, so I'm not trying to sell you anything, but you might see it in this slideshow. So let's talk about wholesaling real estate first. And if you want to jump in at any time, Jen and Rio, please feel free to. I know this is your area of expertise. I've actually exited a wholesaling business many years ago. I sold it in parts. So I still have a little, have some chops in me too if you have questions. All right. So wholesaling real estate is essentially where we're going to be flipping contracts instead of flipping properties. Okay. This is where you as a wholesaler, you're going to identify a distressed property. Distress could mean that maybe it needs rehab. Maybe it has a landlord that's sick of the tenants in there, but any kind of property that has a problem attached to it, you're going to reach out to that owner, get the property under contract as though you're going to, buy it, but you're going to then assign your interest in the contract to another buyer at a higher place. Robert Kiyosaki, if you're familiar, he's extremely famous. Most people know him in finance, but in his book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, he actually gives the example of wholesaling. So he said he was walking past a building and the person who owned the building had a sign out that they wanted $50,000 for the building. Robert was then having a conversation with someone else and they were like, man, I'm really looking for a property, but I only have $80,000 in my budget. So Robert thought, well, I have a property that I know of. Would you be interested in that property for $80,000? Told him a little bit about the property. The guy said, yeah, absolutely. So Robert went and bought the property for $50,000 like the seller wanted. He didn't buy it. He put it under contract. And then he went back to the person that said they wanted a house or the property for $80,000 and he assigned his interest to that person. So Robert ended up with a $30,000 in between. That's called an assignment. Okay. So the seller wanted 50. The buyer was willing to pay 80. Robert put himself in that by getting the house under contract and he walked away with the $30,000. Robert did not have to pay anything. He did not have to get a loan. None of his money came out. He simply got a property under contract for $30,000 and sold his interest in that contract to another buyer for $80,000 and he kept what was in between. Wholesaling real estate is definitely a way to get into real estate investing if you don't have money or credit. Now, you don't have ownership at that point, but you will learn a ton about real estate investing and it's going to help you build capital pretty quickly so that you can have enough money to invest if money is an issue for you. So benefits, of course, minimal capital to get started. You're going to have an opportunity to learn a ton about your market, deal analysis. You're going to become a great negotiator, and you're going to learn many different ways to structure deals. Also, you're going to start building a network of buyers and sellers. So when you are ready to invest, you already have the connections and the networks that you need to do so. So wholesaling real estate is definitely a way to get in and get started. Jen, Rio, if you guys want to jump in on anything, let me know, because I'm going to move on to the next one if you guys don't have anything to add.
You hit it on the head.
Listen, coming from an expert like you guys, I appreciate hearing that. And Jenna Rio, if you want to put your information in the chat, if anyone has any questions for you guys and you guys are okay with them, reaching out for help, let me know or put it in the chat. And if it's okay for me to share an email with the people who watch this on a replay, I think you guys would be a great resource for anyone who's interested in this. So with
100%.
wholesaling, I tell people, pick one thing. The biggest mistake that I see wholesalers do is they jump in and they want to take every role. They want to be the one to talk to sellers. They want to be the one to dispo it to buyers. They want to be the ones to do the transaction coordinating. They want to do everything and they become overwhelmed. So if you are starting in real estate, my advice is to pick one side. Maybe you're really good at talking to sellers, people who are in distressing situations, maybe going through divorce, they're in foreclosure, maybe they just got the property, through an inheritance and they don't want it. So if you're really good at just talking people to people, I think you might want to focus on talking to sellers and getting their properties under contract. However, if you're more corporate, a little bit more professional, you don't really want to talk to people about their sob stories, you just want to focus on the money and negotiating, then you might want to be on the disposition side where you are only working to find buyers who want to buy contracts. And the contracts that you'll be selling or the interest in will be coming from other wholesalers who are working with the sellers. You guys work together on something called a JV, a joint venture. You're talking to buyers, which is all about negotiating, corporate networking, things like that. And then you'll just work with other people who are on the acquisition side, meaning getting houses under contract. That's a lot to do with Jen and Rio's business, right? Jen does the disposition. She's more talking to people, buyers, negotiating, and Rio is more on the acquisitions, the heartfelt conversations with sellers to get them, get their problems solved essentially and get them out of some tough situations. The reason why I tell you guys to pick one thing is if you look at number 2, when there was a gold mine happening and everyone was having a gold rush and they're trying to rush to California and I'm going to get all this gold, I'm going to be rich. Very few people found gold, but the people who made the most money were the people selling the shovels to the people who arrived to try to look for gold. Okay. And that is true in many, many markets. So I would say pick one thing, get good at that, and let that be your thing. And then you can branch off to others. Also in wholesaling, you're going to come across some creative deals, which is great because if you're interested in buying properties where you actually do own them for no money and no credit, those creative deals are the way for you to do it. And if you're seeing those deals with the buyers and sellers, but you don't have any skin in the game, meaning you're not, a part of the actual ownership of it, you get a chance to learn and practice without penalty. So when it is your turn, or you do see a deal that you're like, oh, I kind of want to keep this one. Now you know what to do. Now you know what title company to use. Now you know what questions to ask. And then finally, novations. So I would say novations is like wholesalers' stepsisters, the stepsister to wholesaling. And that just means instead of you assigning the contract, you're going to have a different type of contract where the seller knows, hey, Ashley is not going to be the person to buy my house, but she is going to help me sell it to someone else at a higher price than what she and I negotiated. And typically you can do that if you do a little bit of value add or if you have a network deep enough to take it. We check on time. This is usually a presentation for 2 hours, and I'm going to try to condense it down to 45 minutes. Any questions on wholesaling before we move on? Okay. Another thing that some wholesalers sleep on, and this was pretty big in my business when I was wholesaling, don't forget that you can wholesale for equity. So if you're like, I really want some ownership in this house, like I really want to be an investor, I don't want to be like investor adjacent. I want to own some things. you can do a split. So you can literally talk to either the seller or the person who's buying it. Let's say if I'm going to be talking to the person who's buying the property, I'll give them a discount and say, hey, you can have this property for what I paid for it. I won't even put my fee on it. All I want is 8% of any revenue that this property generates. So if they're a landlord, that means 8% of their monthly revenue. So now you're getting residual income every single month from a property. Or if they're a flipper, when they flip the property and make the profits back, they'll pay you your 8%. And that builds up over time, and you get your name on some actual real estate investing. So many ways to go with this. All right, let's switch gears to Airbnb. And of course, if you have questions, please, please, please let me know. Airbnb, I've owned a couple. Long story short, you're going to utilize them for short-term rentals, and you don't have to use traditional financing. You do not have to stop at Airbnb. This is where I said we're probably going to talk about way more than 7. Okay. You don't have to stop at Airbnb. You can also do short-term rentals. I'm sorry, midterm rentals. Like if, traveling nurses, they always need a place to stay. You can also do the same method with group homes. I've done this with group homes where, we partner with the owner of a home and we then let someone who does the group home, business or whatever, they come in and they're able to rent the property and me and the owner split the rent. So don't let Airbnb, be the end all be all, but I'm going to use Airbnb because that's the most popular term that most people are familiar with. Okay. So essentially I'll tell you with my Airbnb, someone who I was coaching approached me and said, hey, Ashley, I really want to try an Airbnb, but I don't have any money to get started. And I was like, well, I actually own a property in your market and I'm not using it. Like, sure. What do you think you want to do with it? So she partnered with me. She got the house ready, got it nice and pretty. She started her Airbnb account and all that stuff. You can just use AirDNA. AirDNA will kind of let you know how much money you can make. And I told her what the mortgage was on that property. Long story short, she took over the management. She did the hosting. She did everything. And all she did was just pay me my percentage every single month. And then she kept her percentage every single month. She did not buy my house. She did not have to rent out my house. We just got into an agreement together where we're going to do splitting the profits. I provide the property. She provides the operations. You can do that all day long. You might even know family members or friends who, may have an extra room or something that they want to rent out. I made my sister do it. I talk all the time about everyone in my family has done some type of real estate investing because I believe in taking care of the people around me. My sister was spending almost every night at her boyfriend's house, almost every night. And I was like, girl, you have this whole apartment, do something with it. Let's just rent it out. She's like, but I don't want people in my master bedroom. Okay, let's put a lock on there. And then the rest of the house, they can have at it. And she was able to do that. So I gave her the same person who was working with me, one of my old students, same thing, got her set up, did a deal with my sister where they split the profits. That student never had to rent the house or buy the house or anything. They just came in and split the profits on the Airbnb. So if you're interested in Airbnb or you're good at decorating and managing, that is a way for you to get into real estate with no money, no credit, nothing. Okay. There is a class in the course all about Airbnbs. The person, my student who did my Airbnb is teaching that course in the module. So look it up. It's in there. If it hasn't unlocked for you yet, it will along the way. Okay. Benefits, of course, you're going to generate cash flow. I mean, the cash flow was ridiculous on the property that she did for me. The property that she did for my sister was an apartment and it's just cash flowing like crazy. You want to do it based on market demand and seasonality. So for instance, where I live now, I live downtown Houston. So when there's a big event or something like that, if I'm in the Airbnb space, well, I know I'm going to make most of my money when there's an event downtown. And then when there's not an event, I might have like a less rate that I'm charging, but it offsets itself. So much higher rent typically than your traditional leasing. And again, you're in this without any of your money or any of your credit. So here's some things that we did. Long story short, we did a 50-50 equity split. She took over the management, of course, and I've never had to touch the house. I don't even know how to do the Airbnb hosting if I wanted to. She does everything. The only thing is that we also have to share in the expenses. So for instance, people do come in and sometimes things happen. Airbnb will pay you back, but sometimes they don't pay enough or sometimes they pay too slowly. So for me as the owner, I do kick in expenses and a lot of times we just use the profits to cover that. But you really want to explore Airbnb if you don't have any money or any credit. And again, don't stop at Airbnb. Midterm rentals, you can do this. Student housing, uh, group homes, sober homes. The possibilities are endless. Any questions about Airbnb before we move on? Okay. My advice with Airbnb is to definitely check your HOA if you have one. That is one issue that we ran into with one of the properties that we did together. I'm just hopping out to make sure I'm not missing any questions or anything in the chat. All right, cool beans, you're good to go. Subject to. All right, I'm going to try not to get too lengthy on this because there is, again, an entire class in the course that goes really deep into subject to, just like we have one for Airbnb already, but this is my baby right here. Subject to, just in the simplest terms, you are just taking over someone else's mortgage. And it doesn't have to just be a mortgage that you're taking over. You can take over liens, you can take over taxes, you can take over anything that is attached to the house. You can take it over. I've seen people take over, what are those things called? The solar panels.
Oh, no, I was just gonna add that I just took over a whole building that has 4 to 5 units in it for $30,000 in taxes, and they gave $1,000 to the owner, and he was just ready to be out.
Yes. I'm so glad you pitched that in.
Yeah.
Because people think I'm like, no one's going to give you their house. No one's going to just let you take it over. Yes, they are. If the house is a problem for them, but you actually want to be an investor and get in it, they're happy to do it. Most of the houses that I take over subject to, very much like Shireen, they don't want much. I typically, if they live there, I'll pay for moving costs, but they're just glad to be out of it. They're just glad to have that burden taken off. So some things I really like about subject to is number one, you avoid the bank. So you don't have to like go get a loan. No one's checking your credit. You don't have to, I mean, it's literally between you and the seller. Now, because there is an existing mortgage, and again, the course goes deep into this because I can teach this all day long. You have the moral responsibility to pay their mortgage, but you are not signing an assumption. Some people get subject to, they get it mixed up with a loan assumption. Should have added that to this one too. That's another one. A loan assumption is when you have to go in and you have to qualify to take over their loan, and that's between you and the bank. Okay, subject to is between you and the seller. So the bank has nothing to do with it. It is you and the seller, and you take over their existing mortgage and you begin to make the payments. So morally, you need to make the payments, but you don't have any legal or financial obligations to make the payments. But obviously, if I'm training you, make the payments, right? Do the right thing. But you can take it over subject to. One of the properties that I took over subject to, the person inherited the property. She did not want it. She's not an investor. She was a college kid. Her grandfather passed away. She inherited a house that was 2,000 miles away from her. She did not want it. The taxes were coming up, it was expenses, it was getting violations on the house. She couldn't wait to give me the property. And not only did she give me that one, she gave me another one. Okay, so people do this all day long. I always get the question, where do you find a subject to deal? You don't find a subject to deal. Okay, you make one, you negotiate them. People don't even know that they can do this. So when you're talking to someone about buying their home, this is just an idea that you offer to them and let them know that, hey, this might work for you. What do you think? Some other benefits is that you get, if you get a traditional loan, you have to put a down payment. When you take over a property subject to, there is no down payment. You just go in, step right in and start taking over the mortgage payments. If they are in arrears, yes, you do need to catch them up. So if you're starting with absolutely no money, $0, then you don't want to take over a loan that's going to require catching up the mortgage, right? You just want to find one where you don't have to. But when we talk about wraps in a couple of slides, I'll tell you how to mitigate that if you are taking over a property where you do need to catch up the mortgage. So many options with subject to. Yes, you can live in it if you want to. You can rent it out. You can resell it. You can sell it with owner financing. You can refinance it. You can do it. It's your house. So in subject to, you own the property, but you do not own the debt. The debt remains in the name of the seller, but the property, the deed, goes to you. A lot of people think that the financing and the deed for the house are one. They are not. Okay, the house has its own deed. The financing has its own promissory note. They are totally separate. So you can split it up. And in this situation, you are saying, I'll buy the house part, but I'm not taking the debt part. That's essentially what that looks like. If you have questions about sub 2, please kick them out. Let me know what questions you have. I'm happy to talk about it. But there's a course, a class in the course that, I mean, it goes deep into subject 2 if you haven't seen it already in there. So August Crow is a property that I took over. People always think these mortgage takeovers are like ugly, dilapidated houses, and they are not. So the way I got this property is, you guys know I used to be a school principal, and as principals, we have to go to conferences and trainings. So I used to put my little magnet on my car, like, hey, I buy houses. I was having a conversation with another principal, and she's like, look, I need to downgrade my home. You know, she's like, my father moved out. My son is getting older. It's just he and I don't need this big house. I don't want to keep paying this mortgage. Like, what should I do? So I was like, you should just let me take over the mortgage. The issue was the house was brand new. She had a new construction home. So there was no equity in the house. So if she sold the house, she would have to come to the closing table with money that, as I told you guys before, as school principals, we just did not have that kind of money. So for her, it made sense for me to take over her mortgage payments. And of course, I paid her moving costs. This is a HUD statement. If you're not familiar with the HUD statement, it's like a receipt whenever you do a closing. Basically, it just shows where the money went, and the title company produces this for you. So I want you to take a close look at this. If you were to look at line 101, it tells you that I bought the house for $185,000. That's how much she owed on it. Line 103 down here shows you what our closing costs were. So this is going to be my total. And again, I just took it over. This is my company back then, and this is the person I bought it from. So you're also going to see the marketing for this property. I wonder if it shows here. There we go. The marketing for this property. So it's a beautiful house, as you can see. It's in a new neighborhood, new construction. It's perfect for Houston. Everyone likes it. So you'll notice the price that I was selling it for was $205. So you saw here on the HUD, I bought it for $188, right? That's no money that I gave to the seller, right? This is just me taking over her $185. There is no cash going to the seller. This is just me promising to take over that $185,000 note on it. I turned around then and sold it for $205,000. So instantly that's $20,000 that I got in my pocket from the person who bought this house from me. They bought it with owner financing. We'll talk about that a little bit later, but owner financing is how they purchased it. This is on the sell side. So this is when I sold that same property. And if you're looking at the dates, you'll see here, I bought it on the 17th of May. And I already had it sold by the 31st of May. Okay, so I owned that property for 2 weeks because I was already marketing to get someone else to buy it because I wanted to be $0 into this deal. So if you take a look here, I ended up selling it to him for $197,500. So his total ended up being $202. And of course, I kept the difference in between the $185 and the $197. So in 2 weeks, I made $12,000 with none of my money in it. Okay, none of my money. And then if you look here, this just shows the property, the mortgage that I took over. So I was responsible for making this mortgage payment. Her mortgage payment was $1,547. And then here, it shows you how much I was charging him for rent. So his total payment was $1,752. So every month I was making $200. The difference between what I have to pay for his mortgage and what I was being paid since I sold it with owner financing. So this is how we kind of are getting into a wrap. I know this is a lot, especially if you are a new investor, But essentially what you're seeing here is I paid $0 for this nice brand new house. I could have lived in it. I could have did whatever I wanted to with it, but I ended up just selling it on owner financing so that I can get that $12,000 down payment up front. And then I can get $200 a month every single month until this person moves out or sells it. If you have questions, please, please, please stop me. But again, in your course, you already have a module that deep dives into this method. Another thing that I took over was a tax takeover. I'm going to pause for one moment before I move on, just to make sure you guys have time to digest and ask questions or wonderings, and then I'll continue. Right. Okay, so let's go ahead and talk about Miller Avenue taxes. So this is a property that I took over the taxes. So this property did not have a mortgage. Oh man, I meant to take her name out. Act like you don't see this, okay, guys? But I know, right? So I took over her taxes. So essentially, she owned the house outright, but she got into tax foreclosure. She owed $36,000 in taxes. You can see that down here. So I made an offer to her, hey, I'll pay for you to move and I'll take on the taxes. Don't worry about it. I went ahead and contacted the county and asked them if I can set up a payment plan for the owner. They said, nope, she can't get any more payment plans because we already gave her one and she did not pay it. It's like, uh-oh, what do I do now? Okay, because I'm not paying $36,000 in cash. Well, I found out that if I bought the house, they would let me get the taxes on a payment plan and they would let me have 3 years to pay it back just in monthly payments. Perfect, because I'm going to have a renter in there anyway. So the renter is going to be paying off the taxes, not me. And then after 3 years, I now own this house free and clear. Wonderful. Sounds good to me. So we just wrote it up real quick. As you can see, this one pager contract. Lord, I got to get these names out, child. What was I thinking? I don't know. I thought I redacted it. But anyway, as you can see here, sales price, we put NA because it's going to be subject to the current tax lien at $36,000. All right. As this was going on, as you're looking at the dates here, I found a renter for this property. They had a 3-bedroom voucher, Section 8. Y'all know I love Section 8. I'm a Section 8 girly. So the monthly payment for the taxes was $700 and Section 8 offered $1,250 for this property. So it's a no-brainer, right? My cash flow is $550 after I'm making that tax payment. Happily do it all day long. Once I listed it, you guys can see Section 8 went crazy for this property. But I ended up just finding, I just go with the tenant who has the personality that I like, and of course, the people who have the higher vouchers. So eventually what ended up happening with this house, I thought I had a picture of it, but I don't. What ended up happening with this house is, although I had a lot of interest in it, I had a cousin who had 9 children. He had just did, I want to say 10 or 15 years in prison. So he could not get a mortgage. You know, he didn't have any credit. He had all of these kids. But you guys know I invest in Ohio, and he helped my contractors so much. Like, he's the one who would go out there, check on my crews. To this day, he still helps check on my crews. If he had to get his hands dirty and get in there to get the project done, he never complained. So I actually gifted him this house. I literally handed to him and say, hey, big cuz, I know you've been through some things. I appreciate the help that you've done to help me grow my business. The house is yours. So he then had to make the monthly payments for the taxes for 3 years. And this was 5 years ago. So he's already paid that house off. But now he has a house free and clear for him and his kids to have forever and ever and ever and ever and ever. So that's another thing I love about the power of real estate and just understanding, right? This cost me nothing but knowledge that you guys are now getting. And it felt good to be able to bless my family member with the entire house, simply because I knew how to do that. Oh, thank you guys. Thank you guys. Yeah, you gotta take care of your fam, man. I could do these all day. I don't. Again, this is made for a 2-hour training, so I'm gonna move on so we don't lose time. But all day long, I mean, sub 2 is what I do. So obviously, I have a billion, gajillion, trillion stories about sub two, but I'm going to skip them. Basically, what you're seeing in these examples is this is an example where I took over a lien on a property. This is an example where I took over someone's hard money. You know how I'm always preaching to you guys, don't get the loans. I'm telling you, you're going to think that's what you're supposed to do. You're going to get a hard money loan, but if you are not a professional, you're not going to do well with it. So a lot of investors default on their hard money loans that they take out. And so me, what do? I come in and save the day. I told you not to get the loan, but you got it. You're about to default, so bring it to mama. So I take over hard money loans subject to, especially since I know my crew is amazing and they're going to go in, get the work done quickly, and we'll go ahead and get the property exited. And this is, of course, I love receipts. This is just the receipt of how we took over the hard money. Any questions about that, please, again, it's my favorite thing to talk about. We can talk about it. If you want to talk about it later and just put some questions in the chat or email me, we can do a deep dive, but you have one in the course already that I'm telling you covers everything you can think of about subject to. Owner financing. Owner financing. I know you've done some, right? Owner financing.
Have I
Is that
done
what
owner
you did?
financing?
Yes.
No, I just have two.
Oh, sub two, sub two.
Yep.
So owner financing is when you work directly with the seller, and this is when there is no mortgage on the property. So you're not taking it subject to, there's nothing to take it subject to because there's no mortgage or anything on it. It's just you and the seller working out your own deal together, creating your own mortgage. Yes, you can do that. I'm so shocked when people don't realize, yes, if you own a house, you can do whatever you want to do with it. Of course, you can create your own mortgage around it. You don't need a bank or anything to do that. Write a piece of paper, get it notarized, record it, and now you guys have your own mortgage together. It's so simple. But anyway, you and the owner will just work on your agreed upon deal. So if you're going in with no money and no credit, you like this because obviously you don't have to have your credit run like you would if you were working with the bank. And if you are going to put a down payment, it's negotiable between you and the seller. And you can negotiate this in so many ways. You can tell the owner, hey, I'm going to rent it out. So I'm not going to give you a down payment, but what I'll do is I'll give you a percentage of the rents that come in every single month. So now you have the house, no money down. You didn't have to use your credit. All your job is to get a tenant in there, get it cash flowing, and then you're just going to split the profits between you and the owner. I mean, there's so many ways to do this. We'll be talking all day long. Because when you're talking to the seller and it's just you two, you can make up any terms that you want. It's just between the two of you guys. But anyway, what I like about owner financing is you gain ownership of that property immediately. As soon as you guys sign it, you are now the owner. So like, let's say if my goal was to rent it out, but I found out that this house is a lot more than what me and the owner worked out, I might just sell it and take the quick cash. So if I bought it from the owner for $50,000 and then I run the comps and see people are buying this house for $100,000, I can just sell it for $100,000. Now I can just pay off the owner their $50K and I have $50K in my pocket now. So now I do have money to invest in real estate. But again, this is great for people who don't have good credit or maybe you don't have a whole bunch of money. You literally can do this. My only advice is don't sleep on the worn down houses. A lot of people, when they think of owner financing, they're trying to do like the nicer homes, which is fine, totally fine. But don't sleep on just buying a little, house that might not be the best house, but it's slightly livable. It's livable, it's fine. Because you can do owner financing on those little houses. You can do an owner financing deal for $10,000 for a house that no one even cares about, right? And you can just get someone to come in there and rent it out. You're not going to get the best rents because it's not in the best condition. Who cares? Or you can sell it on a wrap to another investor, right? And so now that investor will go in and get the house nice and pretty and get it rented out, and they're paying you a mortgage. And then from the mortgage that they pay you, you're paying it to the owner that you financed it from based on what you guys agreed on. There's so many creative ways to get into real estate with no money and no credit. And this is another one of my favorite ways. What time is it? Oh my God, we're gonna run out.
15.
Okay, hurry up. Can you guys tell I've been doing this for a long time and I got stories about every house. Okay, mortgage wrap. A mortgage wrap, very simple. The best way I can think about it is when you're wrapping up your dinner at night with aluminum foil, you have to have enough aluminum foil to cover the entire plate. So if we were imagining your plate of food, that's going to be a mortgage that's on the house, the mortgage owed. It's going to be your monthly payment that you have to pay for your mortgage. And it's going to be your interest rate that you're paying for the mortgage. So let's say the seller is the plate. Okay. You're going to come in and you're going to put aluminum foil over it. So that means you have to have more than what's on the plate to actually cover it. And that just means you have to have a higher monthly payment, a higher interest rate, and a higher mortgage amount than the original owner. So I'll give you an example. I do these, I love these, I do these, I actually sell a lot of my properties, and I use wraps. So let's say if my house has $100,000 owed on the mortgage, the monthly payment is $1,000, and I have a 3% interest rate. That's the plate. If I come in with aluminum foil on it, I have to have a higher loan amount if I'm going to sell it to someone. So maybe that loan amount will be 120,000 because 120,000 is bigger than 100,000. It can wrap. The monthly payment that I give the person I'm selling it to on a wrap will have to be more than 1,000. So maybe I make their monthly payment 1,500, and I'm paying 1,000. 1,500 is bigger than 1,000, so it can wrap. And then thirdly, the interest rate. Interest rate on this one I said was 5%. So if I want to sell that part of it, of course, I have to have a higher interest rate that I'm selling it on. So that might be 7%. 7 is bigger than 5, so it can wrap. Okay, if the numbers are not larger, it cannot wrap, and it will then not be a good deal. So what I really like about mortgage finance wraps is, number one, you can combine everything into one single transaction when you buy it and when you sell it. So if I buy a house with owner financing, I know I don't want my money in it. I can just already have someone lined up that I'm going to sell it to on a wrap, and all of their money will cover any cost that I have. You get control of the property. You are now going to be owning a note instead of owning a house, which is great. You now become the bank. And then there's so many ways to make money. You have 3 profit centers. So when you sell it to them at a higher price, the difference between what you owe and what they paid, you can take that as a down payment. In our example, I owe 100,000. I am selling it on a wrap for 120,000. So that 20,000 that I just created out of thin air goes into my bank account. My monthly payment is $1,000. I charge them $1,500. So that $500 a month goes into my pocket every single month for the entirety of the loan. And finally, the interest rate. If the interest rate is 5% and I gave them a 7% interest rate, what happens with interest? It makes money over time, right? So if they were to sell the house, if they were to refinance out of the house, anything like that, I get that equity that I created, that 2% of interest that's building over and over and over, that comes to my pocket when they decide to sell or refinance or whatever. One of my favorite strategies, mortgage wraps. Again, I told you guys I did this at a huge event, so ignore the cost for this one class. It always cracks me when people talk about like, oh, coaching is expensive. I'm like, you know how much I charge for one class? In coaching, you get access to all this and you get to talk to me. But anyway, let's get past that. These are just examples of owner financing that I did. You guys know I love receipts. I'm not going to go into the details because I'm running out of time. But this, of course, will be uploaded into our course. And you already have a deep dive into owner finance wraps course already in there. So you'll get this and you'll get that if you really are interested in this. Just receipts, how we closed it, how we sold it and made all the money on it. Our HUD-1 statement. If you look down here at line 206, because people always ask, is this legal? Like to just take over someone's loan, or is it legal to do this? Yes, hello, the title company even has a line for it. It's usually between lines 203 through 207, and it just tells you right there, it's a seller finance wrap. If you look down here on line 506, seller finance wrap. Yes, they are 100% legal, and they are on HUD statements when you are ready to close them. HUDs are created by title companies. They have attorneys. Of course it's legal. It just sounds too good to be true because most people don't even know about it. This is the deed. One thing that I do want to note on when I'm doing any kind of mortgage creation, I do loan servicing. So I just get that another company to do it. I want to say their fee is $23 a month, but that means that I don't have to chase people down for their mortgage payments. They're sending them a mortgage statement every month to let them know it's due. If they're past due, they're going to be sending them the past due statements. When it's tax time, they're going to send us all of our tax interest and all of that. So we don't have to worry about it. But this is what that looks like. I'm trying to speed through. We still got a bunch of things to talk about. If you have questions, of course, let me know. I know this stuff is very high level and I'm hitting it with you fast, but I just want you to know that all of these things exist. So not having money or credit should be the last thing that keeps you from real estate. If anything, it should motivate you to get creative and get these kinds of deals. So here we're talking about innovation. I am not going to spend a whole lot of time on this because I don't care what anyone says. Novations are good, but novations can cost. So novations are a way, but typically people who already have a network, they do the best with novations because the goal is to work with the seller of the property to market the property, and you need to have a market in place in order to do that. A lot of times it's done on the MLS, but these days, guys, we have free stuff like Zillow, Redfin, and all of that. So now you can just do a novation without even using the MLS, which is awesome, 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 awesome. You can also partner. Remember I said earlier, you don't have to be the end all be all for every part of the transaction. You might have, maybe you do a YouTube video and you just say, I have a bunch of properties available for people who can't get traditional loans. And, I have it where the owner will finance it for you. So you're just bringing in the buyers, and then you'll work with someone else who has a bunch of sellers ready to sell their properties with owner financing. That way you're only focusing on one side of the transaction and you'll get half or however you guys work it out. Or you can swap it. Maybe you're really good at talking about owner financing and getting people to want to sell their properties with owner financing, and you can just partner with someone who has a bunch of buyers ready and looking for owner finance properties. So you don't have to be every part of everything. You can just pick one part and get really good at that. Remember, all of these so far, you don't need any money or any credit. Okay, this is usually where I go into the long talk about contracts and how you do it and how you do the amortization. For the sake of time, I'm not going to, only because I know you already have this in your course and I just want to introduce you to everything that's possible, and we're running really low on time. The thing that I like people to see about this is being on one side of the contract. I practice what I preach. So you see here, includes a referral fee of $25,000 to Innovative Solutions for Homeowners. That's my company. The funder, the investor who funded this, got $12,500, and the realtor who worked on this got $1,500, and the person who brought the deal got $1,000. Who made the most? I made the most by far, and that's because all I did was find buyers, people who wanted to buy a house with owner financing. That's all I did. So I had a pipeline full of people who were like, I want to buy a house with owner financing. I don't want to work with banks and all that stuff. I don't have good credit. Perfect. Come on, come to mama. Come to mama. And then I partnered with people who had houses available with owner financing. So I was like hotcakes, selling them left and right, $25,000 a pop. But I digress. Let's go crazy on this one. Wholesale is exactly what it sounds like. It's wholesaling mixed with retail. I have done this with some really pretty houses. Essentially, you're going to get a house under contract like you would if you were, going to be wholesaling it. But instead of selling it as is, selling the interest in the contract as is, you can then spruce it up a bit. When I say spruce it up, for me, sometimes it just means like a deep clean. And I remember days where it was just me, my husband, and our kids deep cleaning these houses to make them, presentable. And then we just put them on the market. You can work with a realtor to put it on the market for you, or you can just do Zillow or Redfin. But it just means that you're going to buy it at a wholesale price, but then you're going to sell it at a retail price to a retail buyer, and retail buyers typically pay more. That's why you got to spruce it up, because they're expecting a bit more. I'm telling you, one of the houses that we did, I don't know if I have pictures in this one. All I did was went in, cut the grass, pulled up the carpet because the carpet was, it smelled like cat pee. And underneath it, there ended up being hardwood floors. So it took some elbow grease, right? But it didn't take money and it didn't take credit. Oh yeah, I did. I guess I did show this one. Man, okay, at least I covered the name on this one. Anyway, in our deep dive, I promise I will go through all of the numbers, but I know I am running. I have 8 minutes left, but you guys can see, again, I love receipts and I just love to show you how it worked out. So long story short, I got this house subject to, what was this one, wholesale? Maybe the next hub will show me. And it was worth 114. I got it under contract. And then I was able to sell it. And I sold this one to a iBuyer. iBuyers is like, if you ever heard of We Buy Ugly Houses or Open Door Capital or Zillow buyers or hedge funds, those are going to be like your big buyers. And they bought it for $181,000. You can see that down there. So got it under contract for 114, turned around and sold it for 181 to an iBuyer. I had no money, no credit in the game, and all it took me was getting the lawn mowed and pulling the carpet up. I can show you, I mean, I've been doing this for so long. I can probably show you a bajillion examples. But what I'm trying to show you is I didn't know anything about real estate when I was starting this stuff. I'm definitely not smarter than you guys because I know you all personally. And I had 3 kids while I was doing this and I figured it out. And so I'm telling you, you can figure it out too. Obviously, I mean, I have, when I tell you a billion, bajillion of these that I've done, and it's only taken me knowledge, right? The knowledge that you are now getting. So I never, ever, ever want to hear anybody else again tell me that money or credit is stopping you from buying a property. Is not. It's just your knowledge or maybe your mindset or your own beliefs that's stopping you, but it's definitely not money or credit. All right. And then finally, getting to the end of this, you can partner to refi. So I don't think she's on here today. She did tell me she wasn't coming, but we have someone in the group who I partner with for her credit. So what we'll do is, I have the team, the operations and things like that, and I have the money. But if I'm going to refi, I typically work with her because I'm going to get better interest rates on my loans, and I'm able to then build better profit margins by using her credit. So there's one way to do it. Some people work with me, right? Because they're like, Ashley has money, I have credit. Hey, let's come together and do this thing. And y'all know I don't do loans in my name. I like the debt-free life. Or you can also partner with people who are already doing it, like Shireen. I don't want to keep putting her on the spot, but Shireen already has a business operation where she's doing Section 8 houses in Nacogdoches. She just told you guys she bought 20 of them this year. And all she did was took one of my classes, right? You guys are here every week. You can do this. But what she's doing now is now she's allowing people to invest capital with her. So what she'll do is she'll partner with you. You can use her credit. You just bring your cash to the table, and then her team does everything, all the operations. They get it cash flowing, and now you own a house, and you didn't have to do anything but have a good credit score. Or you can own a house and you didn't have to do anything but bring the money, but you do not have to do both. Okay, just the power of refinance real quick while we're on here. My God, guys. One of the properties we just did, which did we do this one last week? I know it's in the course. I don't know if we did it in one of our group coaching where I showed you guys that I bought the house all in for $56,000. That included rehab, acquisition, and everything. And then when I sold the property, when I got the property appraised, it appraised for $122,000. Right? So it made sense for us to refi that one. We refinanced out, pulled out 75%, which was about $85,000, something like that.
Tax free.
Yes, tax free. Tax free. This was a loan. Tax free. Because a refinance is a loan. It is not cash, right? And you can use that cash to buy another house or go on vacation. I don't care. You do whatever you want to do with it. But there's so much power in refinancing and just finding someone to partner with. And you can do a 3-way partnership. Let me tell you about our third partner. So our third partner didn't have money or credit, right? But she wanted to work hard. She wanted to do all of the work. I'll do the operations. I'll do the management. Okay. I had the money. And the other investor who's not on this call, but she's usually on, she had the credit. So we had a 3-way partnership where I brought the money. The person with no money or credit just said, hey, I'll do all the work. And then our other partner brought the credit. Easy peasy. So the person, my other student, who didn't have any money or credit, but she was willing to do the work, she was willing to work hard, she came in $0. But because she did all the work, obviously that's how she earned her equity in the partnership that we were doing. So the possibilities are absolutely endless. I'm not going to go over this too much, but this is just reviewing the numbers and showing why it's smart to refinance and what your numbers look like when you refinance and pull the money out so that you're still cash flowing. More offers. All right, now we're just going to talk about, I'm going to exit this out because this is where I start pitching the audience on buying my products. And you guys don't need to do that because you are obviously already here. Today was a lot. So if you have questions and you're the type of person that you're like, I want this, I want to do no money, I want to do no credit, you already have a coach who loves this kind of stuff. I will warn you, if you are going to go in and say, I don't have any money or credit, then you cannot also say, I don't have time. All right, you got to have one of the three. You got to have either money, credit, or time. Okay, so I mean, wouldn't it be nice if you came in and said, I don't have any money, I don't have any credit, and I don't have time to do it, so y'all just give me a house and make me money? Like, I mean, that would be nice, but that's not how it works. You need to have one of the three. So if you're the person that says, I don't have money, I don't have credit, but I can make the time to go out, find these deals, manage the operations and handle it, you can do these all day long. And you should feel comfortable doing it because you have a coach that you meet with every single week who will be happy to. You pay me to walk you through each step so that you can execute this correctly. All right, what questions do you guys have? We have 2 more minutes. Any questions, comments, topics, anything you want to discuss? Or are you're feeling overwhelmed? Let me know that too.
Yeah, my head is going crazy right now with ideas.
Real, I feel like you are always like in like leadership mode. Like, all right, how do I make this work?
Yes.
Well, listen, guys, I know this was a lot, but each thing that I talked about today is already broken down in an entire class in your course. So just log into your course, look through the modules, and everything I just talked about is broken down step by step with examples, what to do first, second, third. So if this felt overwhelmed, the blessing of having coaching that has a course with it is the information is there for you to watch it whenever you're ready. And if you want to talk to me more about some ideas that you have, please email me, because then I can just send you back a personal video. Typically, if I need one, or if I think everyone benefits, I'll just do it here and we can literally break down a deal and deep dive it. You can bring your own real example and we can just get your deal done, closed, and figured out together. All right, I'm going to hop off now. I know I've taken the entire hour, but again, if you have any questions, please, please, please let me know. And I want to make sure that you guys understand all of the possibilities that money and credit should not be keeping you away from. Oh, thank you, Rio. I appreciate the support. All right, guys, I'm going to hop off. Oh, thank you. Thank you so much, Jen. Thank you, Samia. I appreciate it. Bye, guys. I'll see you guys next week.
Ashley, bye.
Bye.